My beloved child, something has shifted quietly in the space between two hearts, and what comes next may completely change the way you understand this connection. Your soulmate is not imagining a temporary chapter with you. Somewhere inside them, a picture has been forming, a picture of years ahead, ordinary mornings, unexpected adventures, difficult seasons handled together, and countless small moments that somehow become the most meaningful memories of a lifetime. They want forever. But here is the part you haven't heard yet. There is one thing they need from you before they can fully step toward that future. And it may not be what you expect. Stay with this, because the obvious answer would be love. But they already recognize your capacity to care. It isn't perfection either. They aren't waiting for you to become some flawless version of yourself. And it isn't a dramatic promise about tomorrow. No, what they need reaches somewhere deeper. Your soulmate wants to know whether the person standing beside them in the future will allow them to see the person behind the strength today. Think about that carefully. There are parts of you the world sees easily, your confidence, your independence, your ability to keep moving. But there are quieter rooms within you that few people ever enter. Your unanswered questions. Your private dreams. The things you hope someone understands without forcing you to explain everything perfectly. And strangely, that is where the real story begins. Because your soulmate doesn't only want access to your happiest moments. They want something more valuable, your emotional honesty. Not endless explanations. Not constant reassurance. They simply need to know that when something matters, you will let them understand what is happening inside you instead of making them guess from a distance. Imagine two people trying to build a bridge while hiding half the materials from each other. The bridge may begin beautifully, but eventually they must trust each other enough to finish it together. Your soulmate sees forever with you in the same way. They aren't asking you to surrender who you are. They are hoping you will let them become part of the world you usually carry alone. But don't skip now, because there is another layer. They have been noticing something about you. Something subtle. You may think your silence protects the connection. You may believe staying composed prevents unnecessary misunderstandings. Yet sometimes the person who cares deeply doesn't interpret silence as strength, they interpret it as a closed door. Your soulmate wants to knock on that door, but they don't want to force it open. They are waiting for one signal from you. A signal that says, you can know the real me. What if that is the turning point? What if forever isn't waiting for some enormous event? What if it begins with one conversation where neither person performs, pretends, or tries to predict the perfect response? Your soulmate may not need a grand gesture. They may simply need your willingness to be genuine when something matters. Stay a little longer, because the most surprising part is still ahead. There is a future they have quietly imagined where you aren't constantly wondering what the other person means. You speak. You listen. You disagree without losing respect. You celebrate without holding back. You create plans while leaving room for life to surprise you. And slowly, something remarkable happens. The relationship stops feeling like something that must constantly be protected and starts feeling like somewhere both people can breathe. That is the forever they want. But here comes the question they may never ask directly. Can you trust this connection enough to stop hiding every vulnerable truth behind strength? You don't have to reveal everything at once. Genuine trust isn't built through pressure, it grows through consistent moments of honesty. One truthful sentence. One sincere conversation. One moment where you choose clarity instead of assumption. Then another. And something huge is waiting for you, because once that door begins to open, your soulmate's next realization could completely change the direction of this story. They aren't only wondering whether you can give them what they need. They are beginning to ask themselves whether they are ready to give the same thing back to you. And that is where everything becomes different. Here is where the future suddenly becomes clearer, because while you may have been wondering what your soulmate needs from you, they have quietly begun questioning what they must become for you. And this changes the entire meaning of the connection. They are realizing that asking for emotional honesty means offering emotional honesty. Asking for trust means becoming trustworthy. Asking you to open the door means having the courage to open theirs as well. Stay till the end, because the deepest realization hasn't arrived yet. There was a time when your soulmate may have imagined forever as something almost effortless. Two people meet, recognize something extraordinary, and everything simply falls into place. But their perspective is changing. They are beginning to understand that lasting connection isn't created by one magical moment. It is created by hundreds of small choices that quietly say, I am still here. I am still listening. I am still willing to understand you. And one particular realization keeps returning to them. They don't want you to constantly prove that you care. They want you to feel safe enough that proving it becomes unnecessary. That difference is enormous. Because imagine the future they are beginning to see. You walk into a room after a complicated day, and they recognize that something is different. Instead of guessing, they ask. Instead of you automatically saying everything is fine, you allow yourself to answer honestly. Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe you need encouragement. Maybe you just need someone to listen. But in that tiny exchange, something powerful happens. Distance becomes understanding. Don't skip this moment, because this is where the hidden requirement behind forever becomes even more specific. Your soulmate needs communication without games. Not perfect communication. Real communication. They need to know that if something changes inside you, they won't have to decode silence, search for invisible clues, or wonder whether they somehow missed something important. And they are realizing that you deserve exactly the same certainty from them. Pause on that. What if the relationship you've imagined isn't supposed to feel like endless guessing? What if its strongest version feels surprisingly simple? Two people choosing clarity. Two people choosing respect. Two people saying what matters before assumptions have time to write their own story. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that forever isn't created when two perfect people find each other. It is created when two imperfect people keep learning how to understand each other better. And there is something else they have noticed about you. Your independence. The way you can keep moving without constantly asking someone else to carry you. That strength may be one of the qualities they admire most. Yet they don't want your independence to become a wall they can only admire from the outside. They want to stand beside your strength, not replace it. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is the realization that could redefine everything. They don't need you to need them. They need you to choose them. There is a powerful difference. Need can come from emptiness. Choice comes from intention. They want to look toward the future and know that you are beside them because this connection adds something meaningful to your life, not because either of you is incomplete without the other. If these words connect with something you've been feeling, you can share this message with someone who might need it. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you want to continue this journey together. Because what comes next goes beyond simply understanding what your soulmate needs. Your soulmate has started imagining the moment when this truth finally becomes a conversation between you. And strangely, they aren't planning some enormous speech. They imagine something quieter. A moment when the noise disappears. A moment when neither of you needs impressive words. A moment when one honest sentence changes the atmosphere completely. But wait until you hear what that sentence represents. Because beneath their desire for honesty, communication, and trust sits an even deeper need, one they may not fully understand themselves yet. They want to know that when life changes, you will keep choosing growth together instead of expecting the relationship to remain frozen in its first beautiful chapter. Years from now, neither of you will be exactly who you are today. Dreams may evolve. Priorities may shift. New possibilities may appear. And your soulmate doesn't want forever to mean holding on to an old version of you. They want to keep discovering who you are becoming. Stay a little longer, because the next part reveals the unexpected promise hidden inside that vision, and why your soulmate may already be preparing to make that promise to you first. And now the picture they have carried silently begins to reveal its final shape, because your soulmate is no longer asking, "Will this feeling last forever?" They are asking a far more meaningful question: can we keep becoming new people without becoming strangers to each other? That question has changed something inside them. Suddenly, forever isn't a distant destination anymore. It is a decision renewed through every new version of life. Stay with this, because the answer to what they truly need from you is about to become unmistakably clear. Your soulmate has started understanding that time changes everyone. The person you are today will discover new dreams, new strengths, new perspectives. So will they. And instead of being unsettled by that possibility, they are beginning to see something beautiful inside it. They don't want to preserve this connection exactly as it is. They want to watch it evolve. They want to meet every future version of you and say, in their own way, "Tell me who you're becoming. I still want to know you." That is deeper than simply wanting forever. Because forever without growth becomes repetition. But forever with curiosity becomes discovery. Imagine years passing and still having conversations that surprise you. Imagine accomplishing something you once thought impossible and turning towards someone who remembers when it was only an idea in your mind. Imagine changing direction, discovering another purpose, or seeing life differently. And instead of hearing, "You've changed," hearing, "Help me understand this new part of you." Don't skip this thought. Your soulmate isn't asking you to promise that you will never change. They need to know that when you do change, you won't disappear behind that change. They need openness. They need the courage to keep meeting each other honestly. And now the hidden truth behind the title finally comes into focus. The one thing they need from you isn't perfection. It isn't constant attention. It isn't an impossible guarantee about everything that will happen tomorrow. It is partnership. A real partnership where both people can speak, listen, grow, adjust, and still choose each other freely, but something even more surprising has happened. While hoping for this from you, your soulmate has realized they cannot simply wait for you to create it. They must become part of the answer. If they want honesty, they must speak honestly. If they want understanding, they must listen without immediately judging. If they want consistency, they must show consistency. If they want a future where you feel comfortable revealing your dreams, they must become someone who respects those dreams. What if that realization is the beginning you've been waiting for? Because now their imagined future looks different. They don't see one person chasing while another keeps retreating. They don't see one person carrying every conversation. They don't see love as a test where someone constantly has to prove their worth. They see two people walking forward, side by side. Sometimes one understands first. Sometimes the other does. Sometimes both need time. But neither person turns every uncertain moment into a reason to abandon the connection. Something huge is waiting inside that idea. Your soulmate wants forever, but they don't want you trapped inside a promise. They want you present inside a choice. Again tomorrow. Again when circumstances change. Again when new dreams appear. Again when life becomes busier than expected. Not because you are afraid of losing each other, but because what you're building continues to deserve that choice. And perhaps this is the message you were meant to hear most clearly. You should receive the same commitment you are being asked to give. Forever cannot belong to one person alone. Trust cannot move in only one direction. Communication cannot be one person's responsibility. Growth cannot mean one person constantly changing while the other refuses to move. The future they are imagining requires both of you. So before you go, hear this line that if this connection is meant to become something lasting, the greatest sign won't be dramatic words about eternity. It will be something quieter. Two people who can look at each other as life keeps changing and still have the curiosity to ask, who are you becoming, and how can we keep building from here? That is what your soulmate truly needs from you. And now they are beginning to understand something equally important. It may be exactly what you need from them, too. But there is one final doorway your soulmate has not opened yet, and behind it is the part of forever that cannot be created through promises alone. They have imagined the conversations. They have imagined the growth. They have even imagined choosing each other through different seasons of life. Yet recently, another realization has entered their mind. Partnership only becomes real when both people feel free enough to remain themselves inside it. Stay close to this moment, because this changes what forever actually means. Now stay till the end, because there is one distinction you shouldn't miss. Your soulmate doesn't need you to guarantee the future. Nobody can do that. They need to know that when the future arrives, you will meet it honestly together. There will be new chapters neither of you can predict. New opportunities. Unexpected changes. Different versions of dreams you currently believe are already complete. And perhaps that's what makes the future beautiful. You don't need the entire map. You need the ability to keep talking while you're drawing it. You need enough trust to say, something has changed inside me. Enough patience to answer, tell me about it. Enough confidence to say, this dream matters to me. And enough generosity to respond, then let's understand what it means for us. That is partnership. Not control, not perfection. Not endless agreement. Partnership. And here is the revelation your soulmate may finally be approaching. The one thing they need from you is not a single grand gesture performed once. It is the willingness to keep showing up as your authentic self while allowing them to do the same. Before you go, hold on to this. A lasting connection isn't built by predicting every tomorrow correctly. It is built by becoming two people capable of meeting tomorrow together. And somewhere in the future your soulmate has imagined, there is a quiet moment when both of you finally understand this. Forever was never asking either of you to stop changing. It was asking whether you could keep discovering each other through the change. And once your soulmate understood that, one final question remained in their heart. If they stepped forward with that kind of honesty today, would you recognize what they were truly offering you? Now comes the moment no imagined future can answer for you, because your soulmate has reached the edge of a realization that words like forever can no longer hide. They can picture tomorrow with you. They can imagine growth, partnership, laughter, conversations, shared dreams, and all the ordinary moments that eventually become extraordinary memories. But one question remains unanswered: when something genuine finally stands before you, will both of you recognize it without demanding that it arrive perfectly? This is where